Thank you for joining me. I'm William Earnhardt. I'm the pastor of the Bushnell, Homosassa, and Inverness, Florida Seventh-day Adventist churches. And a question that has come up this week as we're studying Revelation 11 and the two witnesses is in Revelation 11:2, where it talks about the 42 months. Where do we get the idea that that is 1,260 days instead of 1,278 days based on a 365-day year? So the question is, where do we get 360 days for a prophetic biblical year? And to begin answering that question, first of all, the Cambridge University Press website confirms for us that ancient Israel operated on a 360-day calendar year, 30 days for each month. But before we go further into that, where do we get a day for a year in Bible prophecy to begin with? And one of the first places we see a day for a year in Bible prophecy is in Numbers chapter 14, verse 34. This is where the spies came back from spying out the promised land. 10 of them said, there's no way we can take this land, even though God promised it to them. So God assured them that since they didn't believe, they wouldn't be going into that land. Their children would, but they wouldn't. They would be spending an additional 40 years in the wilderness. And this is what the Lord says in Numbers 14, verse 34. According to the number of the days in which you spied out the land, 40 days. For each day you shall bear your guilt 1 year, namely 40 years, and you shall know my rejection. So this is the first place where we see a day for a year in Bible prophecy. And then in Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 6, we see a day for a year. And when you have completed them, lie again on your right side. Then you shall bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have laid on you a day for a year. So here we see again, and this is agreed upon by most all religious scholars, all denominations, a day for a year in Bible prophecy. Now the question, where do we get that a year is based on 360 days instead of 365 days? In other words, again, in Revelation 11:2, where it says 42 months, how do we know that's 1,260 days or 1,260 years instead of 1,278? Well, again, ancient Israel operated on a 30-day-a-month year. Every month had 30 days, 12 months, 360 days in a year. But we can also confirm that in the Bible. We actually confirm that in the story about Noah's Ark. Let's take a look at Genesis 7, verse 11. It says, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. So that's when the flood began, was on the 17th day of the second month. Okay, now we go down to verse 24, and it says, and the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. Okay, so we have an even 150 days. We go now to Genesis 8, verses 3 and 4. And the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water decreased. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. So there we saw that it began the 150 days, began, we see in Genesis 7:11, on the 17th day of the second month. Exactly 150 days later took us to the 17th day of the seventh month. There we have 30 days for each month. And so that is where we get in the Bible 30 days for each month, which leads us to the 360-day year that ancient Israel was practicing. And we see that both in the Bible as well as in recorded history. So when we come to Revelation 11:2, or even in Revelation 13:5, where it talks about the 42 months, that's 30 days for each month, which leads us to 1,260 prophetic years. If you have any more questions, again, contact me at william.earnhardt@Florida Conference. That is william.earnhardt@Florida Conference. I would love to hear from you. God bless you as we continue studying His Word.